man, God, what are the methods that you're challenging me towards? What are you preparing me? I need to know the message. So that's your time in the word. That would be the reason to go to a Bible school or something like that, because you want to be that learner that Chris talked about. A disciple is a learner. He didn't say go and make believers. He didn't say go and make knowers. He said go and make learners. That means your posture is to be in a constant space of learning. You'll never know everything about God. So if you're in a constant state of wanting to learn, then that's a disciple following Jesus. He hasn't stopped walking. He's still walking all the way to heaven. So we got longer than that 5 mile trip that Christina took. We got a long walk ahead of us. But as every step we take, we're learning more and more about him. And I think that's the importance. So, speaking to you entrepreneurs, that's the desire, is to take that's been ingrained in you, that race that you've already run up to this point. Because that's the other thing, is you don't run a marathon after and before not running any other races. My buddy didn't run that endurance race and never have run before. There was smaller races that he ran along the way. So don't neglect the races you've already been completed, because they've helped prepare your endurance to run a race that's different, to run a race that's longer, to run a race that has a different terrain, because you've built up the endurance and completed something. So don't ever walk away from the completed races saying, well, that did me no good. I did that. I struggled because I thought I'd lost the call in my life because I joined the Navy. And God's like, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use the way you've connected with people through the years. I'm going to use the way you learn there. I'm going to use the people that you were encountered with that you wouldn't have got in a churchy environment to change your method. But you not got to know the message. And I think that's important.
So that's interesting. I'm trying to take everybody's uh, stories today. And I actually learned last week very carefully and thoughtfully in prayer what my message was. And, I've basically lived a life where everything was separate. I'm Christina at work, engineering firm. I'm Christina, the lavender lady, my business. I'm Christina at church. I'm Christina at family. And it really wasn't connected. The only thing that was consistent through all of it was that I love people and I wanted to serve. But last week I learned through being on stage and trying to figure out how do I speak on stage and what is my message with Tamara. I spent some time in prayer, and my message is that I ran for the last 10 years a entrepreneur business debt free. Debt free. And he's always called me to that. And I wanted to teach other people how to do that. And so that was my message. And that's always been in my heart as far as discipline when it comes to building something, not comparing yourself to other people and being able to do that intentionally. And it hasn't been hard. I almost felt like an imposter when I was on stage and I was speaking about the 5 steps to running a debt free business. I felt like an imposter because I recently wanted to buy a business that was out there. And I really believe that that was our calling for our next step. But I was going to have all of this debt. I was going to have to go to the bank and ask for this large amount of money that, yes, I believe that there was profit in the business to be able to pay for it, but it went against everything that I had been doing up to this point. And so my husband and I prayerfully let that go, that opportunity. There was too much risk. There was too much uncertainty. Even though we believed in ourselves and we believed what God was going to do through that business, we couldn't take the risk. It was against our values. And so I don't know why I shared any of that, but it was just on my heart that, that was the message that I needed to share with other people, because there's so many people trying to have this fancy office or a bunch of inventory, or just try to go too quickly in their business, and then they lose it after the first couple of years. And we've been really slow and steady to understand what is our purpose long term, to serve